Akaniambia, "Auntie, naangalia visu penye unawekanga, sioni. Kwani umeweka wapi?" Wacha nipigie mam niongee na yeye. Nikasikia bwana akijibu ati I don't care. Mimi sijali, I don't care. Kiti I don't care kuisha chini. Nasikia nduru. Hata nimejifunika tu hivi, hata usingizi bado hajanipeleka. Nasikia nduru, auntie kuja nisaidie wananiua. Kwani mtu pena.
On the night of Saturday, September 6th, what started as a normal day for Rose Muthoni would end in unspeakable tragedy. That day began like any other. Routine, familiar, ordinary. Rose, a hardworking woman from Juja, went about her usual duties and later returned home from work, unaware that the very walls meant to protect her would soon witness her final moments. According to investigators, Rose Muthoni's husband allegedly attacked and killed her that night after she arrived home from work late. But what unfolded before the murder was even more disturbing. It's now emerging that just before the attack, the husband had watched a violent movie, a film filled with chilling brutality and cold-blooded killings. The family's house help later revealed that he appeared engrossed and strangely supportive of the violent acts portrayed on the screen. To her, the movie was terrifying, its scenes soaked in rage and blood. Yet for the man sitting beside her, it seemed to stir something darker. Not long after, neighbors would hear screams piercing through the night. Desperate, terrified cries that ended as abruptly as they had begun. When police arrived, they found the lifeless body of Rose Muthoni, a woman whose only crime was returning home. Her death would expose not just domestic violence, but the horrifying ease with which a familiar home can become a slaughter scene. Hello and welcome to Dark Hour Dogs, where we uncover the darkest crimes, the unanswered questions, and the haunting truth left behind. Tonight, we delve into the chilling case of Rose Muthoni, whose marriage spiraled into betrayal, horror, and cold-blooded murder.
But police in Juja are investigating the murder of Rose Muthoni, a mother of one who was killed on Saturday.
In Juja now says that Rose was stabbed numerous times by her husband before she died. Now Muthoni Brenda spoke exclusively to the house help who witnessed the gruesome murder and filed.
And according to the family, Rose was killed by her husband after a quarrel ensued over her scheduled time to arrive home after work. He allegedly stabbed her multiple times on the chest.
Rose Muthoni was born and raised in Kayole in Nairobi. She was a child of modest beginnings, anchored by her family and driven by determination. To those who knew her, she was warm, ambitious, and deeply devoted to her young son. At just 26 years old, she carried the weight of responsibility with grace, working alongside her mother in the busy Nyamakema area in Nairobi. Together, they provided for their families, navigating the daily grind of business and survival. Rose married Gabriel Nganga and both rented a home in Juja. They also lived with their house help Tracy and their 4-year-old child Vin. On the surface, they appeared to be a young family going about life just like anyone else. But beneath that quiet routine, something darker brewed. In the months before her death, Rose's family had suffered loss. They had just buried their father. The grief was raw, and Rose had stepped in as a pillar of support for her mother, siblings, and extended family. She shouldered her own burdens while continuing to push forward. She did this for herself and for her son. In daily life, Rose balanced many roles. She was the breadwinner, managing business duties during the day, caring for her child, and coordinating her home. She was the daughter who answered late-night phone calls, the wife expected home, and the mother whose love extended beyond herself. But as it is often in murder cases of this nature, that everyday facade conceals the tension, the control, and the unseen threat. The tragedy that would unfold was not born overnight. It was sown slowly in choices, in moods, in power, until one night it exploded into fatal violence. On that September 6, 2025 on Saturday, everything seemed normal for the couple. The day would begin as a normal work morning, with glimpses of abnormality emerging through the day. That morning, Rose left for work shortly after 10 a.m. Unusually, Nganga returned home a mere 10 minutes later, something out of the ordinary. This is because he typically returned much later in the day. From that time until about 2 p.m., he was glued to his phone, making long calls, seemingly lost in arrangements which were unknown. When the house help, Tracy, offered him food at lunchtime, he claimed he did not feel like eating. Later in the day, around 4 p.m., he asked for the TV remote and began watching graphic and violent films, movies in which women were victims. According to Tracy, one scene showed a woman being killed, and Nganga muttered darkly that people like that deserved to die. At dinner time, he insisted not to prepare too much food. He seemed uninterested in eating. As evening fell, Nganga placed a video call to Rose, pleading with her to return home early. He claimed their child was unwell, suffering a cold, and that things weren't right at home. Rose tried to explain that she could not leave work early because it was a busy weekend. She was in Nyamakema, working with her mother. Rose's mother later recalled the final phone exchange. They had left Nyamakema at around 10 p.m., and at about 12:26 p.m., Rose called her to say she was on the stairs of her apartment in Juja, almost home. She told her mother the vehicle she had boarded had delayed them. She complained of a bloated stomach and said she was going to make something like coffee. That would be their last conversation. Once Rose entered the apartment, she went to the kitchen, presumably to get a drink. She asked Tracy for a knife, but the knives were apparently missing from where they always kept them. This was strange. They searched together but could not find them. They believed they had been removed. Unbeknown to them, Nganga had preemptively taken them away to prepare for the attack. Rose then said she would use a spare knife kept in the oven and told Tracy to return to sleep. Not long after, Nganga emerged from the master bedroom holding knives. He entered the kitchen and flung one knife to the floor. Rose questioned him. She wondered why he had failed to disclose that he had the knives when they were looking. Tension cracked open. What followed was Nganga accusing her of coming home late. Rose offered to let him call her mother to confirm that it was a work thing. He rejected the idea. The timing, he said, didn't matter. But in truth, the timing was just the pretext he needed. The conflict was no longer over lateness, it was about control and execution. Suddenly, Rose screamed, "Help me, he's killing me." Tracy rushed in. She found Nganga strangling Rose, holding two knives, stabbing her repeatedly in the chest. Rose, in a desperate attempt to survive, grabbed the tips of the blades. Tracy tried to intervene and was wounded in the hand by a deep cut.
Kufika hivi nataka kumshika hivi, alinigeukia na kisu. Ikapita na mkono wangu. Nilijavoid, ilikuwa itanidunga hata kifua. Kwa sababu nilijavoid hivi, ikapita na mkono.
Even in her dying moments, Rose's thoughts were not for herself but for her child. She told Nganga he should have let her live so she could raise her son. She looked at Tracy and thanked her for trying. She also begged her to stop fighting and pleaded that she took care of her child. But the violence did not end. Nganga, stepping over Rose's lifeless body, grabbed their son Vin. He headed towards the balcony, apparently intending to throw him off. In a moment of pure courage, Tracy, who was bleeding and shocked, pulled Vin from his grip and shielded him. She fled with him to safety. Inside the house, Tracy also smelled gas. She realized that Nganga had attempted to turn their home into a death chamber. He wanted to light a fire to kill everyone inside. She screamed, dashed out, and placed Vin in the hands of neighbors who had gathered. Then she wandered away, repeating that she would go to the police. When Rose lay dead and the house silent, first responders would arrive. Rose's body was taken to General Cargo Funeral Home. Nganga, in a final act of violence, tried to take his own life. He jumped from the balcony, suffered injuries, and also stabbed himself as well. He was rushed to a level 5 hospital under police custody. Back in Kayole, Rose's mother had no inkling of what was happening. Around 3 a.m., she was roused by her house help, who said Tracy had called. She told her that Tracy had said she was heading to the police station. Initially, she thought that some argument had erupted between Rose and Tracy. She tried to call both Rose and Nganga, to no answer. Soon, the house help muttered the words no mother should ever hear. Rose is dead. Tracy had summoned the courage to speak, but could not directly tell Rose's mother. She told the house help, who delivered the news. Her mother, stunned, had spoken to her daughter mere hours before, and now she was gone. Relatives would later rush to Juja and verify this tragic news. As of today, Nganga remains under guard, expected to face murder charges. Police in Juja are leading investigations. Tracy's statement, phone records, and evidence from the apartment are central to their case. This was not a sudden outburst of rage. It was a carefully laid plan. Having Rose arrive home late may have served as an excuse, but it could never justify what followed. From the sequence of events and witnesses' statements, it's clear that Rose Muthoni's murder was not spontaneous, but calculated. Nganga's behavior earlier that day was questionable. He watched violent movies, muttered disturbing phrases, and insisted Rose came home early under the false claim that their child was sick. This shows mental preparation and manipulation. The missing knives before Rose's arrival also revealed chilling intent. Nganga had preemptively disarmed the house to control the scene. When Rose returned, he staged a quarrel about her lateness to justify his aggression, turning a domestic argument into a murder setup. He attacked Rose, injured Tracy, and even attempted to throw his child from the balcony. A horrifying escalation designed to destroy witnesses. The smell of gas and his attempted self-harm suggest plans to burn evidence or fake suicide. He also reposted this video on X, depicting a woman attacking her husband. All this now point to premeditated and controlled brutality, born of rage and dominance. Rose Muthoni's death is not just one more tragic statistic. She was a wife, a daughter, and a mother who loved and labored to build a future. On that fateful night, the very walls she called home became the stage for terror and betrayal. In Rose's story, we see a pattern too familiar. The escalation of control, the silencing of voices, and the turning of domestic space into a weapon. What broke the silence was not only her screams, but the horror that followed. The attempted murder of her child, the smell of gas, and the ultimate attempt to erase every life in that home. Her murder was not a momentary loss of temper. It was a plan, a betrayal masked in love, executed under the facade of family. And when the police pursue justice, they must not settle for partial truths or comforting explanations. Rose's name demands full accountability. To remember Rose is to demand more than grief. It is to demand justice. For her son, her mother, her extended family, and for every woman whose safety is violated in silence. This has been Dark Our Dogs, and if Rose's story moved you, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's make sure that her murder becomes a force for change, not just sorrow.